Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. This is your teacher Amir sir, and you know that we have already taken up the fifth chapter of political science, and this chapter is about the popular struggles and movements. And today, as you know that I have already given you a brief introduction about this chapter. What we have to study in this chapter, we have already discussed that. Now we will start with the first topic of this chapter, and this topic is about the popular struggles and movements with special reference to Nepal. How popular struggles started in Nepal, although we have two cases, special cases. One is of Nepal and second is of Bolivia, where we have to study how these popular struggles emerged, the causes of these popular struggles, and how much they have succeeded. We will discuss that. Now, first we will discuss this popular struggle or popular struggles and movements with special reference to Nepal. First of all, about this Nepal. Nepal came into being. It came into being in 1769. In 1769, Nepal came into being. नेपाल जो है नेपाल बन गया 1769 में, and it was a king, the king who was responsible for uniting this Nepal, uniting various provinces of Nepal, various principalities of Nepal, was none other than Prithvi Narayan. Prithvi Narayan Shah. Prithvi Narayan Shah, he belonged to Gorkha. He was of Gorkha tribe, and this person, Prithvi Narayan Shah, unified Nepal. He fought various wars, and through these wars, he finally established the kingdom of this Nepal. इसने नेपाल किंगडम ऑफ नेपाल जो है वो फाउंड की, उसको एस्टैब्लिश किया 1769 में. In this way, he was very important person, and the dynasty, his dynasty came to be known as Shah Dynasty. His dynasty came to be known as Shah Dynasty, and this Shah Dynasty had a very important role in the Nepal history, so far as Nepal history is concerned. So we can say, in short, that Nepal came into being in 1769, and in 1769 it became a kingdom. ये एक kingdom बन गई, and in this kingdom it was the monarchy. You can say hereditary monarchy. Hereditary monarchy was established there. Hereditary monarchy वहाँ पे establish हुई. So Nepal, from its beginning, from its known history, was a hereditary monarchy. ये एक hereditary form of monarchy जो है वहाँ पे रही. What this hereditary monarchy is, actually it was a kingdom. It was a kingship which ruled there, and that kingship was hereditary. That means the kingship passed from father to son, from grandfather to son. So पहले grandfather ruler था, फिर उसके बाद जो है king बना, बादशाह बना उसका बेटा, फिर उसके बाद उसका बेटा बना. So ये इसमें जो है hereditary monarchy में यही सब चल रहा है. And there is no election in this hereditary monarchy. So Nepal was in a way from very beginning ruled by this family. ये एक family इस पे रूल कर रही थी, जिसको हमने कहा शाह डायनास्टी. So this Shah dynasty was very important, and its ruler Prithvi Narayan Shah was very important, who laid its foundation of this Nepal. After that, another dynasty whose rulers played very important role during this Shah dynasty is Shah dynasty के अंडर जो है एक और डायनास्टी के रूलर्स थे, जिनको हम कहते हैं राणा prime ministers. In this Shah dynasty there were Rana prime ministers, and these Rana prime ministers, they started dominating this Shah dynasty, and hence it has been said that Shah dynasty became a tool, it became a weapon in the hands of the Rana prime ministers. So Rana prime ministers, they started enjoying the real power, and these Shah dynasty rulers, they became puppets in the hands of these Rana prime ministers. And this kind of situation continued for a long time in Nepal, and finally this old Rana regime, which had continued in Nepal for more than 104 years. 104 years तक जो है इस डायनास्टी का, ये जो जिसको हम राणा regime कहते हैं, old Rana regime, this continued for 100 years. ये regime वहाँ पे 100 years तक, 104 years तक continue रहा. And finally there started a movement towards the democratic politics. There started rising democratic aspirations of the people began to emerge, and this Rana dynasty or Rana regime, it started collapsing. ये collapse हो गया finally. It was in 1951. In 1951, finally this very old this regime of Ranas, it came to an end. ये end हो गया, and in 1951 there was a transition. There was a transition to democracy. A transition to democracy began. Transition to democracy start हो गई. There was a shift of power. Power shift हो गया from this old Rana regime to monarchical king. Finally a monarchical king, that is whose name was at that time monarchical king, जो है दोबारा से वहाँ पे monarchy establish हुई, and it passed from old, there was shift of power from old Rana regime to monarchical institution. Monarchical institution वहाँ पे shift हो गया. ये जो old dynasty है, it came to end finally. इसका खातिमा हो गया, ये end हो गई. This monarchical institution, it was led by King Tribhuvan, and also by democratic political parties. So democratic political parties and the king tribune one, they finally took over the power. They finally took this king Tribuna. He became finally the monarch of this Nepal in 1951 when there was shift. And after that, the period from this 1951 to 1959 was a period of, you can say, trouble in the history of Nepal, because during this period, brief period, there was tug of war. इस पीरियड में 1951 से लेकर 1959 तक एक वार जैसा वहां पे हो रहा था. There was a kind of a situation of war between, on one side, between this king, that is monarchical institution, that is King Tribhuvan, and on the other side there was war between democratic political parties. So इन दोनों के बीच जो है बहुत ज़्यादा जंग छेड़ गई. ये दोनों जो है, इन दोनों के बीच कन्फ्लिक्ट हो गया. एंड द बोन ऑफ कंटेंशन वाज द डेमोक्रेसी. These people, these political parties, they believed that there should be some checks and balances on the powers of the king. There should be an elected elected representative body, and on that there was a conflict, prolonged conflict between these two. On one side, between democratic political parties, and on the other side, the monarchical institution led by this person, King Tribhuvan. And finally, it was in 1960. In 1960, for the first time in the history of Nepal, parliamentary elections took place. Parliamentary elections took place for the first time in Nepal. And in those parliamentary elections, finally, they established kind of this representative or other bodies, whatever they had to elect. Finally, they had these elections took place in the history of Nepal. And after that, another event took place, that is in 1900, in the same year, that is in 1960. Finally, for the first time in the history of Nepal, this power now, the king Tribuna, the king Tribhuvan was replaced. The king Tribhuvan was replaced by his son. He died. King Tribhuvan died in 1960. ये 1960 में मर गया, and he was succeeded by his son, that is King Mahindra. King Mahindra became the new ruler, new king of Nepal in 1960, as his father, King Tribhuvan, died in the same year. And after that, this person, Tribhuvan, he was very important person, because during his period, monarchy was once again, restored. Monarchy को restore किया गया दोबारा से. And this monarchy was restored under the panchayat, under the guise of panchayat system. Monarchy established, but why then important? Because for the first time in the history of Nepal, that panchayat system was established. Panchayat system was introduced. That's how इसी पंचायत सिस्टम के लिए जो है इलेक्शंस हो गए in 1960 में, in which King Mahindra, this panchayat system was launched by the King Mahindra, son of this Tribhuvan, and after that he also tried to establish these parliamentary institutions, and for parliamentary institutions in the same year in 1960 the efforts were made and these elections took place, but unfortunately this person King Mahindra, he was against the democratic institutions. Although he established this panchayat, he introduced this panchayati system, but on the other hand he targeted, इसने target किया, he targeted all democratic institutions and individuals. इसने democratic individuals और institutions पे अटैक कर दिया. He targeted them. इसने टारगेट बनाया उन्हीं को अटैक किया. And after that he ruled till 1972, and in January 1972 finally he died. This King Mahindra died, and he was replaced by his son, whose name was King Birindra. King Birindra. King Birindra, he became a new king of Nepal in January 1972 after the death of his father. इसके फादर की डेथ के बाद, since it was hereditary monarchy, ये hereditary monarchy थी, इसीलिए वहाँ पे जो है इसी का बेटा जो है वही नया रूलर बन गया. And this King Birindra is also important because at the time of his incarnation, जब इसकी incarnation हो रही थी, ताजपोशी हो रही थी, at that time he gave idea of declaring Nepal as zone of peace, or in other words he declared Nepal as zone of peace. इसने नेपाल को zone of peace करार दिया, अमन का खित्ता. And this king, during from the time of this King Birindra, it was from his time that the movement started gaining speed. That is the movement, the struggle for democracy. And after that, it was in 1990. 1990 year is very important year so far as the history of democracy is concerned, because during this year there took place the third wave of democracy. Democracy की तीसरी लहर जो है, it came in many countries. ये बहुत सारे countries में आ गई, and Nepal was no exception. Rather than in Nepal, this third wave of democracy hit it. थर्ड वेव ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी जो है वो नेपाल को भी हिट कर गई बहुत सारी कंट्रीज में. एंड देयरफॉर in 1990 finally this movement or struggle for democracy, for democratic institutions started gaining ground in Nepal. And actually this we are discussing the history, the ups and downs of the democracy in Nepal, how democracy from its beginning, from how from this hereditary monarchy it finally made a shift, it finally made a transition, full-fledged transition to democracy. So we are discussing that. In this we are this looking into the ups and downs that democracy and governance had in Nepal from its beginning, from its this foundation in 1769 till till 2000, around 2008 and 2015. We are actually looking into that. We are studying those events, how this democracy was established, how Nepal became a democratic country. And in that actually there are two moments, how these moments, how the popular moments, how the struggles, how people were nurtured by the people, but how they finally succeeded, or how much success they had, what are the various achievements of these political different political parties, democratic political parties, and people's movements there in Nepal. And finally we can broadly divide this movement for democracy in people's movement or national movement for democracy in Nepal into two phases. The first phase begin in the same year, that is in first phase of पॉपुलर स्ट्रगल. पॉपुलर स्ट्रगल का पहला फेज जो है, जिसको हम जनता आंदोलन कहते हैं, इट actually started in 1990 with the coming of this third wave of democracy in Nepal. And in this we will discuss how in this first phase of popular struggle attempts were made to restore the democracy, to restore the democratic institutions, or to establish democratic institutions, and what was the response of this King Birendra. We will inshallah discuss that in our now next video. Till then, Allah Hafiz.